Chai. Yeah. It needs just someone who knows, huh? Bashar, kannst du mir noch eine Bhagavad Gita geben? Kannst du mir noch eine Bhagavad Gita geben? Englisch bitte. So, Hare Krishna, yeah. Yeah, interesting verse. Especially when you hear that the Lord destroys someone. We always look, oh, that sounds a little bit shocking. Even though, why not? He can do whatever he likes. He can destroy someone. Why not? But we say, oh, why does he destroy someone? Or me or someone else? This is not fair. He actually, Krishna would not have to take into account any fairness or justice. Everything belongs to him. Everything is his. He can do whatever he likes. He can do whatever he likes. Like, this is my key. This is my key. I can do whatever I like. Of course, in this material illusory situation, it is my key. It's not in absolute sense my key, but right now, it's my key, and I can do whatever I like with this key. And no one can blame me, and no one can judge me, or no one can, punish me. I have any right to do whatever I like with this key, good or bad, with the key, not to do something to someone. And in the same way, everything belongs to Krishna. Everything. Everything and everyone. And he can destroy, because we think, why he said here, if someone has forgotten him, he will destroy him. Oh, this sounds terrible and unfair. But actually, who can blame him? Just we small living entities blame him. Oh, that's not fair. Why are you doing this? So we don't believe in you anymore. And he said, I don't care. They don't believe in me. Still destroy you. I still do whatever I like. So in that sense. But of course, if we want to communicate about Krishna, we have to explain to them. Why would he destroy someone to justify? And they say, okay, it makes sense. And Prabhupada does that in the purport. He says it's not that Krishna destroys someone. We destroy ourselves, he says. If someone, and Prabhupada says this, forgetfulness is the reason why we get destroyed. And not by Krishna, but because of our forgetfulness of him, through which we act in a materialistic way, through which we get implicated to karma, and through this we get destroyed. So it's not that Krishna destroys someone, it's not that Krishna has a problem with someone. But in the same way, when we can say Krishna destroys someone, he doesn't care. At the same time, he says, I don't care also about your sinful activity. He's completely transcendental. Of course, he cares because it's not good for us. He cares, but from another point, he is transcendental. And that what is destroying us is our own imperfectness, our own weakness, our own illusion and forgetfulness, and we are destroying ourselves, but inside Krishna's system of karma. Of course, you can say, why was he setting up this system? Yeah, this is the system of justice, actually. It's actually the system of justice. He's just, and this is a just system. Karma is the ultimate justice. We might not understand it and think it's unfair, this is not just, why is this happening to this person, to this child, to this... This is very difficult for us to understand, of course. Right? We cannot see the whole picture of a soul's life and whole existences. So some things, if you just see this small cut out of this picture, then it's very difficult to see, to understand. Once I saw this, anyway, this is very difficult to explain a graphic image, but there was some picture where you see a man stabbing another one, or it looked like something like this, and you think, oh, this is terrible, and then you see the whole picture, and it was the knife which wanted to cut something to help him, actually, right? But if you just see this small thing, you think, oh, someone wants to kill someone. From farther away, you see the whole picture. So Krishna sees the whole life, existence of a soul, and this soul has, from life to life, so many karmic reactions, and good and bad, and some play out just in this small situation. And if you just see that, then we just cannot understand. And to really unwind this wire, this whole karmic mess, actually. From our point of view, it's a karmic mess. From Krishna's point of view, it's perfectly ordered and logic. Yeah? But from our point of view, it's a mess. It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. And so in that sense, the most important is to just surrender and don't ask too many questions. Of course, we know this is not possible. We are rational people. We have to think, we have to understand, and we are done with this irrational. If you are not rational, doesn't mean someone is irrational. It's just not. But anyway, we're done with this irrational religion, and now we are in this age of enlightenment, further away, of course, but still experiencing the after waves of that, and we have to think and have to understand. Everything has to be scientific, and in the end, our ability to understand anything is so limited. That doesn't mean that we should not use it. Of course, we should think and we should research. Yes, of course. Krishna consciousness is quite philosophical too. But I just say, on one point, it's not possible to get perfect understanding through our very weak intelligence. Yeah. So to some, Krishna, of course, he gives so much philosophy and knowledge that we are convinced to dedicate our lives to him. But it's not about knowledge. It's not about knowledge. It's about spiritual experience. And when you have spiritual experience, to understand something is not so important. But in the beginning it's important, so we have lots of books, lots of philosophy, a lot to think. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, someone who studies this holy dialogue, he will worship me with his intelligence. So a lot of emphasis is on intelligence, on understanding, on reason. Definitely, yes. But we should not think this is the ultimate and it's so powerful that we can figure anything out. This is actually quite quite puffed up in that sense, or proud. Huh? My intelligence is so big I can figure everything out. So we have to see keep this balance, right? Use the intelligence, trust it to some degree, but be also suspicious of it, and see actually bhakti is most important. Devotion is important. But still, back to this topic, where it's said here that Krishna is destroying someone. As I said, Prabhupada puts this perfectly, very nicely in this purport to understand what is meant with that. It's not that Krishna destroys someone. Krishna actually says in the first part of this verse, no one is dear, but Kapila Dev speaks here, so no one is dear to Krishna, nor is anyone his friend or enemy. So, and for this we have also in Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, verse 29, where Krishna says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu namet veshyosti na priyaha. This is 6. What is it? Let's continue. Samoham sarva bhuteshu namet veshyosti na priyaha. Pachanti. Ye pachanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Same information. I envy no one. Namet veshyo. Namet veshyo means I envy no one. And the same word is here, nadveshyo. We have the same word. Nadveshyo, na cha bandavaha. Banda is a friend, na cha bandava. No one is my friend. And in the Bhagavad Gita, na priyaha. Priya is very dear to me, dear person. So, quite shocking also, you might say. Oh, no one is his friend, no one is his enemy. So, what does he have to do then actually with anyone or us? And in Bhagavad Gita he goes into more, to put the other point also in. But someone who worships me, ye pachanti tumam bhaktya, he is my friend. Maite teshu chapiham. Actually, I am in him and he is in me. Yeah? Mai means in me. Te, such a person. Teshu, in them. Aham, I am. So actually, that can pacify someone. No, he's interested. But he's not interested in a person who is not interested in him, so to say. There has to be a reciprocation between him and the soul. If someone says, I don't care about Krishna, I don't care about God, anything spirit, I just want to do my small things, Krishna says, okay, do whatever you like. And he says, actually, I don't judge it. Namet veshyo stina priyaha. It's not that I envy you in your Maya or would punish you because you are in Maya. No, I'm not envious of what you do. I'm not your enemy. You are free to do whatever you like. Okay, you want me out of the picture? No problem. Do your thing. But na priyaha, I'm not partial either. I'm not then on your side too. The good and the bad, whatever you do, that's your thing. But if someone turns to Krishna, his approach changes immediately and completely. Then he says, he's in me, I am in him. And then we go into a relationship. Then everything works completely different. And it's not that Krishna says, someone who is 100% surrendered to me and is pure devotee, then I will take care. No, even the smallest attention towards Krishna will immediately attract him and he will be there. So it doesn't take too much in that sense to draw Krishna into your life. And it's not that only devotees have this privilege in that sense. Anyone who turns towards God, any religion is in that sense important. Any religion. And we live here also in a country where religion was a couple of probably 100 years or hundreds very important. The whole calendar was structured according to the different holy days, right? They're called holiday. Now you say holiday, but it were holy days. And when you look at these days, it was all in remembrance, mostly because it's a Christian country, about Jesus, his life, his different activities, and either he went to heaven, or when he was resurrected, or when he was crucified, or when he was born, or when he was received by Mother Mary. You have even a day for that. Maria Empfängnis, it's called. No? Maria Empfängnis, when she got him through the Holy Ghost or some angel, or very peculiar how that happened actually. Because Joseph, when he found out you are actually pregnant, and I think they were not even married, he wanted to, say, okay, I don't think I will marry you. There's something going on here with someone. But then an angel appeared in his dream and said, no, this was from up there. This is the unbefleckte Empfängnis, they call it, no? Unbefleckte. There was nothing involved. He got pregnant by God, and then he was convinced, okay, I have a special lady here. Anyway, so the whole calendar was structured, and what were people doing on a holy day? They had to attend the functions of this day, either go to church, or there was something going on, and they were celebrating that together, were speaking about that, and that's why they had off. This is why they would not have to work, because we have to do something for God. Nowadays, this is not there at all. Holiday means just, no work, no school, I can sleep, I can drink, I can party, I can play computer games. I have nothing to do, right? Complete, emptying out the whole purpose of it. And in Krishna consciousness, it's a little bit weirdish, because we have every day a holiday, and then we have special holidays where we do a bit more. But for devotees who are like full-time devotees, we're always in this spiritual atmosphere. This is actually more a Vaishnava, Babaji and Brahmana lifestyle. This is a bit out of the system. But in Varnashram Dharma system, everyone had to work all the time. But then there were also holidays, and you don't have to work. And then there were celebrations for Krishna, Jamashtami, or whatever it was. Ekadashi was very important. Ekadashi was also a day where you don't have to work. It's like a holy day, and then you chant and read and do that. Or in Judaism, they have once a week on Saturday, the Holy Sabbath. It's so important that they even have laws that you are not supposed to do anything. You're not even supposed to carry something, not even your key. It's a day for communion, for celebration, for also the family to come together and to pray. And this is why they were so strict with that very traditional Jews, they are, this is very strict. You are not supposed to work. You're not even allowed to turn on the light sometimes. Yeah, some take it so serious. And that's why they have the Torah. Huge book. Okay, it's not so big, but it's quite big. And this is the book of all the laws. How we should suppose, not just the Sabbath, but whole spiritual life. How is it supposed to work? But what I wanted to say is just that in the past, the religion kept this connection to God to bring him in. Of course, not just for, as we say, pure bhakti, pure devotion to serve and love him selflessly, also to just, sanctify the life, which is already good. What's that? Yeah, this is always the problem when the door is open there. It's just when the door is open. So, yeah, to sanctify the life. And this is already good. We have a very, very high spiritual understanding, right? This pure bhakti. This is actually very high. It's only to please Krishna. No ulterior motivation involved. It's just to please him, nothing for us. Yes, this is the highest level. But these other religions, they were kind of on a karma, yoga level. Everyone wanted to do their thing, but still bringing God. And it's good. It's good. It's very good, actually. Yeah, it's not what we are supposed to do in that sense, but we have to also see where are we. And many of our grihastas, definitely, it's not pure devotion. There are so many material desires, and they have to see how to connect it with Krishna, how to give it up in time, how to become purified, to come up to that level. But there's a lot of, in that sense, karma yoga, jnana yoga involved. When we go strictly according to the definition. And we have to and this is why this yoga ladder was given. To see where are you and how to progress to the next level. And we have to see, it's not everything is pure bhakti. Definitely not. Anya-bilashita shunyam. Free from all material desires. Anya-bilashita, abhilashita, other desires, anya. Other desires, shunya, zero. Shunya means actually zero. Zero. Jnana karmadya navritam, jnana karma. And then, everything you do, anukulena Krishna nushilana bhakti uttama. Pure bhakti, uttama bhakti is to do it to please Krishna. So all the time, you are doing zero for you. It's only to please Krishna in any activity. This is the textbook definition. But who is doing that? Especially grihastas. Who is doing that? This is rare, very rare. Okay, so if I'm not doing that, but I want to come there, good. So I have to see, where am I? What am I actually doing? And why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? What I'm doing? How much am I doing of this actually for Krishna? And not just for Krishna, but to please him. How much is it? How much pure? Of course, it's mixed. Sometimes we are doing it. We are really, sometimes with a good moment. Okay, I really chant now for Krishna, to please him. I do this now to please him. Okay, but very often not. So, it's in that sense, it needs a very honest, introspection. Janardhan, is this the right word? Introspection? Okay. Very honest introspection. And yeah, honest. We should be honest and brave. Because we might get a bit shocked. Oops. I thought I'm, pure devotee now. Not perfect pure devotee, but kind of. Almost pure devotee. So, just I'm on the last steps, in devotional life. Last steps, a couple of steps more, and everything's done. And maybe, there's a little bit more to do. But no problem. It's no problem. Devotees are already quite far in that sense. They're quite far. Believe in Krishna, chant their rounds, have the sadhana. But what about the desires, the heart, the approach to the whole thing? But back to the point, Krishna is already there. For someone who turns to Krishna, Krishna is incredibly merciful. Incredibly merciful. And there's even a deity who, of course, this should never be misused. But there's a deity, one of the most famous deities in India, personifies or symbolizes actually that. It's Balaji, Venkateshwar in South India, right? Tirupati. And it's a Vishnu deity who has this big tilak. Like we have a very small tilak, very thin lines, but other traditions, especially in Sri Sampradaya, they have thick. And their deity also, because Krishna has tilak, right? The tilak sign, he wears it. Actually, it's said in Bhagavatam, when Krishna goes to the forest, he takes some minerals, or some like sand minerals, colorful minerals, and he wears the tilak sign in colors. So it's a very holy sign. So in this deity of Balaji, he has this huge tilak, even going over his eyes. And you might ask, why is the tilak going over his eyes? And says he doesn't want to see your sin. Doesn't want to see your sin. And actually he's not seeing a sin. He just looks on the positive, Just looks on the positive and blesses you. And this is actually Krishna. Krishna is not looking at the sin, which does not mean that it is okay to have sin. Yeah, Apichet. Is this so loud? Huh? Yeah, this is extremely loud. Wie war ist das? Okay. Now it's silent. So yeah, there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is so liberal. It's so liberal, it's too liberal. Actually, it's too liberal. Api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak. That means, and Prabhupada translated as the most obnoxious, abominable. Yeah, he says abominable. In German, how it's said, it's the abscheulich. Sometimes if you hear German words so isolated, abscheulich, sounds quite abscheulich. Times. So abominable. You know this verse, huh? 9:30. Is it? Actually, after this verse I quoted. Yeah, here it is here, 9:30. 29 and then 30. Apichet su duracharo. Dur achara. Achara means activity. And dur means bad. Like Duryodhan. Some say Duryodhan, the name of the antagonist of the Mahabharata. It means a bad fighter. Dur means actually bad. It means he's also cheating. Bad fighter. Yodhana, fighting. But it can be also meant someone who is very difficult to defeat in fights because he's very powerful also, Duryodhan. But interesting, Duryodhan has this negative connotation. So Yudhishthira, who wanted to see always the good in everyone, called him Suyodhan. Didn't want to call him Duryodhan, so Suyodhan, which means good fighter. Or Su sometimes means, as in this verse also, it means more, or Seher in German you say Seher. Seher, it is more. So this verse, Apichet su duracharo. So durachara means bad activity, acting in a bad way. So Prabhupada says abominable. Because it's not just bad, but it's su durachara. It's very bad. It's very durachar. And then Krishna says, but if he is ananyabhak. So this word ananya, it always means exclusively, without anything else. Prabhupada says, without deviation. Ananyabhak. If he is exclusively worshipping me, bhajate means worship, then what? Mantavyaha. Everyone should think he's a sadhu. Everyone should think he's a sadhu, he's a devotee. Samyak vyasito hisa. Yeah. Okay. So this verse is quite shocking, right? This says if someone acts bad, he's acting bad. But at the same time, he's exclusively active in devotion. So how does that go together? So sometimes there might be a mistake. Sometimes there might be a fault. Doesn't mean he's always acting bad. He tries his best. He is active in devotional service. and sometimes there might be a mistake, and sometimes there might be a very, very bad mistake, sudaracharu. But this should not be a disqualification to not be allowed to serve, and no one should think he is very bad. Everyone should think he's a sadhu. So this verse gives has a lot of potential for misuse. Because you can say, hey, everyone is perfect, everyone is good, whatever you do. So, but it's not like that. Even a sadhu can go to prison. Even a sadhu should be put into prison if he does something very bad. He can still chant in prison, Don't take away his devotional service, he can do it there too. So it's not that he's not to touch. Someone who's doing something against the law, definitely. It's not that he's above the law. Some correction must be there. But he should be allowed to do devotional service always. So this is for this, but I went off at some point. Yeah, okay, so Krishna is very merciful. This is what I want to say. Krishna is so merciful. He is always accepting. He's immediately accepting. And then we have to progress towards him and get purified. This is our process. But how to get purified? We want to get purified. But how? Of course, you do your sadhana, daily chanting, daily connecting with Krishna, daily improving. Always trying to improve and see where are special weaknesses, as Arjuna is told to have this, what is Krishna saying? Hridaya daubalyam, when he says, so get rid of this weakness of the heart. And everyone has his weakness, some in this field, some in that field, and we have to know that and take certain precaution to overcome it. Some have more pride, some have more envy, some have more lust, some have more greed, some have a lot of everything. Some are quite advanced already. But anyway, so we have to take care of that, especially. And we should not be lazy. It's okay, Krishna accepts me. Of course Krishna accepts you somehow, but Krishna accepts you in helping you to remove it. So we should definitely work on ourselves. So this is a big part of spiritual life, to really work on the self. And at the same time, we should not think, I should be a pure devotee now. Okay, some things, it's simply not possible. You cannot jump too high. You cannot. So situate yourself in a proper situation where you can advance. The brahmachari who thinks, I'm a brahmachari, I'm super renounced, I'm not interested in the grastashram, I'm not interested in women, no, I don't need it, it's okay, and just pushes himself. And he suffers. Sometimes, some adjustment has to be made. And then it works better. Like in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's this famous story of Gajendra. He was an elephant. And he was the king of elephants. Gaja Indra is the king of elephants. A lordly elephant. Beautiful, powerful, big. And he was roaming about in the heavenly planets. There are elephants on the heavenly planets. And he was encircled by beautiful she-elephants. In German, so Elefantenkuh. Beautiful Elefantenkuh. Elephant cow. Very beautiful. He was, my beautiful harem of elephant cows. And they were, you are a wonderful, powerful elephant. Yes, I am. He was roaming about and they were, enjoying life. The Lord of elephants enjoying life, his beauty, his strength, and his beautiful harem of elephant. Yeah, probably it's like that. Huh? I think that elephant, if he looks at a human female, ugly, what's that? What beautiful elephant. And we are the same. Probably every creature thinks about the opposite sex in their form very positively. So anyway, it said he was roaming about, and then he came to this lake. And we enjoy now in the lake, in the water, and splashing the water. It's so beautiful, quite interesting. Suddenly he felt a pain at his leg. A pain, and looked, and it was a huge crocodile, a powerful crocodile. He bite his leg and wanted to draw him into the water and kill him. And they were fighting for a long time. Bhagavatam said they were fighting for years, I think. 1,000 years. I don't know, according to our time or their time, but a long time. It was an intense fight. And then Prabhupada in this connection explains that on the land, the elephant would have no problem with the crocodile. Crocodile on the land is very, very slow. It's down there, he could trample it like anything. They do that. Actually, elephants, when they fight, they can trample other animals. Of course, if they have this tusk, they can also pierce them, but they trample. So it's very dangerous to come under a crazy elephant. Yeah, the stampede. So, Prabhupada says, it's very easy for him, no problem, but he was not in his natural position. He was not in his natural position. Suddenly, this crocodile became strong and could even kill him and wanted to drag him even more into the crocodile's natural field. And this is also what happened. The elephant, because he was not in his natural situation, became weak and weaker, and the crocodile became more powerful and wanted to drag him in. And if he would have been completely in the water, the crocodile could have finished him off like anything, quickly. And Prabhupada explains then in these purports, especially about Grihastha ashram and Sannyasa ashram or renounced situation. And he says that devotee who is not properly situated, he will be like this elephant in the water. He will get dragged down. So everyone should put himself in a proper situation where you're strong and you are secure. And this was in connection with a story, what happened 70 years ago, in the 70s. And Prabhupada had one disciple. His name was Madhu Dvisha. Prabhu, seid ihr fertig? Ja. Dankeschön. Also wenn ihr nicht fertig seid, dann warte ich. Ihr könnt ruhig fertig diskutieren. So, there was one devotee in the 70s, his name was Madhu Dvisha. He was American, but was preaching then also in Australia. And he brought the Australian yatra to heights unimaginable. It was very powerful. The Australian yatra at that time were the best in book distribution. They were huge. They distributed lots of books. They were fired up. They had wonderful temples in Sydney and in Melbourne. Big temples, beautiful temples. Prabhupada was actually often in Australia. He was quite often there, more often than in Germany. Prabhupada was just 2 times in Germany, 69 and 74. But in Australia, when I read this Transcendental Diary, it was I don't know how often, but quite often in Australia. It was also not too far away from India, so it kind of connected that. And New Zealand, he was also. And he liked it. So in this Madhu Dvisha was a very early disciple from America, from the early days, very inspired, very dedicated to Prabhupada. He did a lot, and then he became a sannyasi. He was initiated into a sannyas order. And then, somehow or other, in the later time, in the 70s, there was then a scandal coming out. And it's quite amusing, in one sense amusing, how it happened. A letter fell out of or a piece of paper fell out of the bead bag of one Mataji, of one girl. And somehow it was found, and it was kind of a love letter signed Madhu Dvisha. All right. I don't know if it's signed with Swami also. So, but love, appreciation, expression. So it was just locally known then somehow or other. I don't know how much it spread, but they brought it immediately to Prabhupada and told him what happened. And how did Prabhupada react? He said, okay, no problem, let's see what happened. Let's bring him here and I want to talk with him. And he told everyone to keep it discreet. Keep it discreet. But somehow this, I don't know, over jealous or competitive devotees, some of them spread it. It spread. rumors spread quite quickly, especially in America, and everyone in the movement knew more or less Madhudvisha Swami has fall down, as we say, a fall down. Yeah, he fell down from his position of renunciation. And especially at that time, even nowadays, it's quite scandalous and it's not accepted or anything like that. Good, it's good, it shouldn't be accepted, but at that time it was definitely even more shocking because devotees had in general a quite high, motivation and high idealism, so to say, of Krishna consciousness, right? It has to be like this is how it is written. Prabhupada was there, of course, he kept the standard. Anyway, many devotees were way above their level in their position, in their service and all that. For some time, of course, it's good and they did a lot, but then, waters finds its own level, it's said, this saying. Huh? With time, everyone gets positioned where he belongs to. But when Acharya is there and there's a certain situation, we can, for some time, definitely be way above our level, definitely. And Brahmachari, especially our Western Brahmachari ashram, is, I would say, a lot like that. Many brahmacharis, they act for some, maybe even longer time, way above their level, but then water finds its own level and they position and situate themselves where they are properly and naturally where they belong to. Anyway, so it spread and it was not merciful. The devotees were not merciful. They were judging him and they were criticizing him and they were shocked and how dare he, how can he, and all that. It was quite intense. So much so that Madhudvisha did not go to Prabhupada because he was embarrassed. Of course, that's what he felt, of course, when you do something like this and devotees are not loving, not forgiving, not nice, and what happens. But it was not even sinful. Of course, ISKCON is, we have so many sinful, in that sense, sinful fall downs like child abuse and things like this. But it's very terrible, of course. So he had just a relationship with a mature, grown-up, adult lady, yeah. So anyway, but still, it's a fall of grace and all that. So he did not, and that's what I'm telling now. What I'm telling now is not some secret. It's there in Transcendental Diary. It's a part of ISKCON history. So he did not go to Prabhupada. He was so embarrassed. He was one of the main leaders in the Hare Krishna movement at that time, and he could not do it. He could not go to Prabhupada. He left the movement actually. He left. He said, I cannot be amongst devotees now. No one will take me serious. No one will accept me and all that. He married the girl. He did the proper thing. And then Prabhupada wrote this, was at that time in this part of the Bhagavatam. So it's very interesting when you read the Bhagavatam, very often Prabhupada puts in the situation of ISKCON, or how ISKCON was doing that time, and because he saw, okay, there's something to learn for the devotees in future. So he connected in a practical way. Yeah. And so he put this in. No problem even for the sannyasi. From a Vedic point of view, this is of course terrible, terrible, terrible. There might be even some statements in Shastra where they recommend to such a sannyasi to make suicide. Right? Some things might be there. And there's another famous ISKCON story, of course, of Vishnuchan Swami. Right? I come back to Madhudvisha, but just to put this in because it's a legendary story and I think some might not even have heard about Vishnuchan Swami. Of course, it's kind of standard ISKCON knowledge. Everyone should know him, at least his bhajans, right? Who does not know Vishnuchan Swami? Okay, see, this is... okay. Because some things we take it for granted, but ISKCON moves on, right? And so many new generations come and some kind of standard knowledge is not known anymore. Anyway, Vishnuchan Swami, one of very early devotees of Prabhupada at that time, incredibly, what's the word? Charismatic person, tall, also good looking, nice, sweet, and he had a beautiful voice. He could sing wonderful kirtans and bhajans. And we have still the recordings. They're kind of famous in ISKCON. And at that time, they were very famous, of course. So, and he was, of course, a hippie before, and he was even married, and had actually a very dedicated, nice wife. Very beautiful wife, it said. And, but he left her. And he joined Prabhupada's movement. And he took sannyas, became a sannyasi. But somehow or other, he still was attached, or, because in one sense, he would not have, well, how is it said? Janardhan, would not have to do it? How do you say it? Would not have had to do it. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Would not have had to do it. So, but he did it because, of course, also if you hear the story of Devamrita Maharaj, have you heard the story of Devamrita Maharaj? He was also in a relationship, and then he wanted to marry, but then he joined, and then he became brahmachari, and he didn't want to marry anymore, right? And she was frustrated completely. And then, and he tells the story with some laughter also, of course, it's many years back, but not so emphatic actually. And the last time she came, she wanted to talk with him, and what's going on and why. And he said in a lecture, I think it was even when Prabhupada was there, he was looking at Prabhupada. And then she came and she was behind him and he knocked on his shoulder. And he turned around and she looked at him, and he looked at her. And he turned around and looked at Prabhupada and said, this was the last time I ever saw her. Then he took sannyas and all that. Quite shocking stories for us now to hear, but at that time, devotees wanted to surrender to Prabhupada. And we have to see, what would he have done if he would have married? And what has he done now that he was heavy? What has he done now for Prabhupada? Not just for Prabhupada, not just for Krishna, but for all the conditioned souls. And what could he have done when he was just married and maybe not even practice Krishna consciousness? Because it's a fact. Association, Sangha, situation can, as the elephant in the water. So we might be shocked, how can he be so cruel to this lady? Yeah, okay. A couple of tears there, but how many tears he saved through his preaching? Sounds cruel, but so this is this situation. Okay, so back to Vishnu Chandra Swami, all these sannyas stories, how they dealt. Anyway, there was something going on after some years, and he was with Prabhupada on a morning walk with many other devotees. And then he asked a question: what should a sannyasi do when he feels attracted to maybe his ex-wife or things like this? And Prabhupada said that he should commit suicide like Chota does, because we have the famous story in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then Prabhupada added, but I am not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and you are not Chota das. So he said, in the Vedic society it was common that a sannyasi did like that. Even 500 years ago, we have this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chota das was a sannyasi. And he only looked at a lady with lustful eyes. And he committed suicide. Mahaprabhu was not telling him that. He did it out of his own inspiration, so to say. But Mahaprabhu was not saying later on that this was bad. He said, okay, it's true. To purify, that a sannyasi gets purified from the sin, or even worse, if he would have an illicit relationship, then he can purify himself from this sin, so suicide. But Prabhupada said, I am not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and you are not Chota das. But the legend goes that he did not hear that. He heard just the first part. And he was never seen again. Yeah. No. Yeah. Prabhupada would have sanctioned it. So back to the Madhudvisha story. So Madhudvish was gone, but after some years, at least when Prabhupada was leaving his body. That's quite a touching story actually, when Prabhupada was in his deathbed in Vrindavan, 1977. And many devotees came to see him the last time. And then Madhudvisha came also, because he said, what? Because he was actually very, very attached to Srila Prabhupada. Madhudvish loved Prabhupada over everything. But he knew, I did this thing now, and Prabhupada actually wrote in an 8th canto, he said, it's okay, sannyasi, he might step down, but then become a grihasta. Don't go into now, what's this, gigolo life. Gigolo? You say gigolo? A male prostitute? Yeah, that is sometimes what people do. This is why grihasta ashram is especially for men so important. Because a man who is not bound through marriage, he will go off with so many ladies. And now this is something celebrated, right? You've encouraged. Don't marry. It's terrible. No. Choose whomever you like for as long as you like. Don't get too attached. And then drop. And next. This is even encouraged, actually. There's a movement called MGTOW, men going their own way. And they are the fanatic MGTOWs who are actually like this. Never to marry, no children, this is all, putting you into prison. And of course, Grihastha ashram is a prison. Of course. But it's a good prison. It's secure situation. Outside there's a terrible world for the man's mind. So he's bound. Responsibility. One lady, children, and his mind is secure. Without that, I can do whatever I like, of course. So, anyway, so go into Grihastha ashram. Be now properly situated. Prabhupada meant that. So Madhudvisha came then in the last days to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was on his deathbed, and Prabhupada was very moved. Oh, you came back. He was actually very, very moved and very grateful. Oh, you came back. And he immediately asked him, how is your wife? Prabhupada was not, oh, I'm so embarrassed by you. I gave you sannyas, I had so many hopes for you, and now you betrayed me, or something like. Not at all. Prabhupada was very loving, not even forgiving. There was nothing to forgive. He accepted him completely. He said, how is your wife? He said, yeah, she's good. And he asked, is she here? He said, no, we got now first child. I think it was the first. It's very young, so I came alone. She's in America. And Prabhupada was very understanding, loving, encouraging. Everything fine, no problem. Yeah. So this is Prabhupada's mood. Especially when the devotee is also regretting and trying to improve. And it's if he says, no, what happened? No problem. I was sannyasi, now I'm grihastha, who cares? So I do whatever I like, everything good. No, we should feel regret. It's very important. So according to this Apichet Sutaracharo verse, it's not that we should think, oh, Krishna says he always loves me, whatever I do, fine. So I do any sin, anything, any bad thing, he always loves me. Jesus loves you, huh? Do whatever you like. Some Christians misuse that a lot. And in best case, they say, okay, I do whatever I like, and then one day I go and tell the priest, oh, I did this and that, and everything is fine. So Prabhupada said, from these 10 offenses against the holy name, which are 10, and in one sense, the first is the worst, in one sense. But most of the time, Prabhupada said the 7th is the worst offense. To do sinful activities in faith that the holy name will purify me. Because he knew our mentality, especially in the West, our corrupted mind, and especially then from this religious practice, what we had in the past. So this should not be misused. We should feel regret. We want to improve. When we do something bad, we should regret. And Krishna will accept and will not take it so serious. Will not take it actually not so serious. Yeah. But we should not think it's normal. As Prabhupada said also once, if you do some bad thing, I will forgive it. If you do it the second time, I will forgive it. If you do it the third time, I will forgive it, but not the fourth time. So he gives some room for, and especially it's called accidental fall down. It's happened, something, okay, what to do, happened. Madhudvisha, it happened, fell in love with this girl, happened, okay. Be a grihastha, it's fine. But if someone is misusing that, he cannot advance in spiritual life. His bhakti will not develop. It will not work out. So this is according to this verse. So just to put an end to this lecture. So Krishna is very merciful, even though sometimes these things sound a bit harsh. So I tried to put it into contrast, into opposite, the harshness at situations, but then also the proper understanding of it, which makes it very, very wonderful actually, and great. Yeah, and especially we can see it in Prabhupada, who really was encouraging, forgiving, loving, but also strict. So the devotee is strict like a thunderbolt and soft as a rose. Yeah. And we should have faith and trust in the devotees and the spiritual master that they can help us through their proper application of their harshness and also softness. Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna. So a couple of questions there from the orange corner. So, okay, fair. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for your nice lecture, Ananda Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you regarding the suicide.
Yeah.
Because I heard it's sinful when you
Yes.
forcibly give up your body, because then you can't work out your karma, and
Yeah.
you maybe need to accept that you don't get a next one so soon. Is it true that you can burn your sinful reactions by suiciding yourself, or how is
Suiciding. I suicide
understood?
myself. Commit suicide. So yeah, it's true. Suicide is a sinful activity, but it's always said there are exceptions to the rule. And if there is a Shastric statement, and if there is a permission through an authority, an acharya or spiritual master, then it's not sinful. Yeah. So, and there are rare exceptions to a couple of things. Sex with someone else than your wife, sinful. Except if your brother cannot have a child with his wife, you as the older brother can do it. Not in Kali Yuga, definitely said not in Kali Yuga, but in other ages this was allowed. So there are certain sinful things, terrible things in some situations are helpful, but they are rare exceptions and they need special consideration. And this is what is also in regard to suicide. In general, yes, true. But it's said when you are getting rolled over by the wheels of Ratha Yatra, you go to Vaikuntha. So, and this was that some people committed suicide, jumped under the wheel of the cart. So now, still nowadays, there are special securities who make sure no one does that. But the Ratha Yatra, because these wheels are huge, right? If you fall, this will kill you. Sanatan Goswami, he wanted to commit suicide. Even, I think, who was it? I think Raghunath Das Goswami, when he came to Vrindavan, because of separation from the devotees, wanted to jump down from Govardhan Hill at a certain place where it's high enough, because in general it's not so high, but still. And he was not allowed by the other devotees. But we can see a couple of situations where this comes up. But as I said, this is in most of cases not allowed. Shouldn't be done whimsical. Or another thing, when you are very old or sick, you are allowed to fast, to how to say, beschleunigen? Accelerate your death. And actually Prabhupada did that. When Prabhupada saw, I will not queue anymore, okay, I will die, so no eating, no drinking, nothing. And this is actually in one sense a bit suicidal, right? So there are certain situations where it's okay, but they are very rare. And if there is, there needs very certain devotees also to help you. It shouldn't be done whimsical, definitely. Yes?
Yeah, it's okay when I ask another question, Gauranga?
Yeah, behind you there were also arms raised, but yeah, maybe you keep on.
Yeah, another question I have is, if you recognize that you did something sinful, how to counteract if not the holy name is putting it away? You just wait for...
When you have doubts about, in general it's like this, you keep on going with your spiritual life and just do some special devotional activity. But in general, if it's grievous, you have to talk with your spiritual master. This is the job of the spiritual master to give advice in certain situations when we don't know how to handle it, right?
And are there general things for small sinful activities that you
In general, the holy name purifies from everything. If you regret it, you have to read in Madhurya Kadambini. There's a lot of talk about that. Which, anyway, this is too long now, but you look at that.
Yeah.
Just chant with a lot of regret and absorption, and it's not, will not stay. Okay. You something according to this, or because? Okay, then Gauranga, and then we have also Ananda also there.
Yeah, thank you so much for your class. Just regarding the suicide and repentance, came to my mind the example of Uttanapad, the father of Dhruva Maharaj. And after he did the mistake and Dhruva left, then there are the 4 air formula. One was that he repented, like the whole next chapter is about his repentance. He's talking with Narada Muni, and he regretted, and then he did a repentance later on when Dhruva Maharaj came. He welcomed him, and also he remembered the mistake he have done, and he never ever repeated it. So this is the 4 air formula.
Oh, that's powerful. He never repeated it. Yeah, that's learning. You can do a mistake, but you learn from this mistake and you change. Ramananda, something to this, or?
To the suicide thing.
Okay, then, because then we have Munindra and.
Yeah, just the suicide thing of the sannyasi is that the sannyasi actually is dead. Sannyas ashram means actually dead, and when you
socially dead. Yeah.
Socially dead. No, I mean when you take sannyas, traditionally the funeral rites
are performed.
They are performed on you. So actually you're dead, and therefore in the Bhagavad Gita says he doesn't light fire, so he doesn't do any karma.
Yeah.
So, but when he starts, so you cannot kill a dead person. So therefore.
Okay. Suicide in that sense. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. You cannot kill a dead person. Okay, Munindra?
Only wants to, what means comment, it was an idea, also similar like Ramananda Gopal Prabhu is telling that actually sannyas is on a different platform. Their suicide, or maybe when we would do suicide, is a different thing. And me on that platform is actually another thing when it would be me, like, or in previous times at least, his duty when he do a mistake. And then actually it's a different point than maybe whoever would do his suicide.
Yeah, definitely. It's an exception, special exception, yes.
That was the first thing, and the other thing was only like a thought for us. You mentioned this story, this devotee, but I don't know the name there, from Australia, his leader.
Madhudvisha,
Prabhu.
He left a couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago he died.
And actually, only the point I would like to remember, or to say it again, that you mentioned this point that the devotees was not so compassionate or forgiving, and maybe
not the devotees in general, but especially the other sannyasis and high devotees. There were lots of rivalry and competition was going on. Yeah.
And maybe to remember this point that actually all the time can happening by all of us some things. Yeah. And actually that we maybe remember such points that actually how many these devotees was doing for ISKCON, and may also when it's may a small mistake or may a bit bigger mistake, but also Krishna is telling that actually when he is continuing, and we should also be forgiven and to really see it in a maybe more neutral way, and should continue to encourage them and to help.
As good as we can.
Yeah, yes.
But good point, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, then we have Subal Gopal.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a nice lecture. I would like to ask, maybe connected also now to this point, about the fall down, because you have experience with Brahmachari ashram and Grihastha ashram, how to be secure in your ashram, especially now in my case, the Brahmachari ashram, to protect oneself.
Yeah, it's a long topic. What to say? Standards, very good is of course association of good devotees, and be always inspired. and be always inspired, be happy in your ashram, do everything to be happy, then there's no question of any doubt or change of ashram if you want to stay brahmachari. And then be also honest and see what you need and be detached, whatever it needs. Brahmachari, grihastha, actually, it doesn't matter. Whatever you need to advance in spiritual life is important. So be honest, don't be artificially attached, but try your best in the ashram, because it is the best ashram, definitely. And from an objective point of view, and be happy. Try to be happy, be ecstatic. Okay. So Janardana Hari was before, and then so Matajis were also? Mataji? Okay.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the lecture.
Thank you.
That question-inspiring lecture.
Hare Krishna.
Just a few points. There was the issue with Madhavisa Swami at the time also was, it appears because of some kind of, and it's not a criticism, it's just an observation that we can learn from, that there was some manifestation of pride and that he couldn't go directly to Prabhupada and he let it fester, and then Maya sort of really got a foothold on the situation, and then it became much worse. Whereas if he'd just gone immediately to his spiritual master when he was already having doubts about his ashram, then he could have avoided the whole thing. It could, so you give an inch, Maya will take a mile. You've probably also read in the Transcendental Diary that a sannyasi who shall remain nameless was very vocal in his criticism against Madhavisa, and Srila Prabhupada was livid about that, actually. And sure enough, it turned out later that the sannyasi actually fell down.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, shortly thereafter, this very vocal and public criticism.
Yeah.
And the final point was, which is not always a savory subject, but this, you mentioned the Mikdao, yes. Yeah, Mikdao. Mm-hmm. This seems to be a corollary also of this, this arch feminism movement, which is actually which is actually attack on femininity, but that's another. It's more a masculinist movement than a feminine movement. But anyway, because what that does is it undermines the male's faith in the marital institution. If the woman's just simply going to leave at any time, at any point, and take the children with them, then why would one commit to that ashram? Why would one give their life to that ashram if there's no security there?
Yeah.
So it appears that this is a backlash from this.
It is a backlash, definitely. But we cannot go into the whole dynamic.
Anyway, not to put blame. I'm not trying to assign blame on any gender. I'm just saying that this is to be clear. I'm just saying that this is the logic of it. So it's completely undermining society and completely encouraging men to be more and more irresponsible.
Yes.
Because that's what the behavior is.
Yeah.
Seeking many pastors is totally irresponsible behavior.
Yeah.
And so it's just disintegrating society.
Yeah.
So anyway, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yeah, it's typical Hegel. No? These, antithese, synthese. It's the antithesis part. Okay, so Ramananda, we make it very, and then last Mataji. Huh?
I mean, I was actually to Subal Gopal's question, some comment, but he left anyway, so.
Okay, now then maybe we take here. Yeah, you first.
I was thinking of one prayer by Rupa Goswami in the morning, and then when you gave this lecture, and we talked about these fall downs and other things, mistakes in spiritual life, I thought I usually first make the mistake and then start praying after I make the mistake. Yes?
You have to go, you're going now.
But it's 20 past. We go. Oh, okay. He said 20 past. Then I don't ask a question. Okay. So
yeah.
Someone else can ask a question.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Du? Okay, du hast eine Frage? You have a question?
Yeah. Can you summarize for me the whole theme? Can you summarize?
The whole lecture?
No, about suicide.
Suicide?
Yes.
Suicide is not allowed. It's sinful. It doesn't bring you any good. But there are rare exceptions to it. But this you have to clear with a real spiritual authority who can tell you if it's okay or not. In general, it's not okay. Nobody should kill himself or herself. It's not allowed. Yeah, but the body belongs to Krishna. Cannot destroy Krishna's body. When it already happened, you pray for the person. Maybe make a yagya for the person or something. You have to do something spiritual. That you don't know if it doesn't help you because you don't see the person. How you know it works? No, if you know someone who committed suicide, you try the best spiritual things you can do right now in your life. That's what you can do. More you cannot do. But this is already a lot, actually, if you do that. Yeah. But no, I have to really, because it's 9:10 now.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai.